blue, whatever random chatter about the maps aside, we actually have the game ready. So we're going to go ahead and load right into it and get this ban phase underway.
I know that for a lot of people, you want us to talk about expectations and storylines and narratives and how this ties into everything. Well, we flashed the standings for you before we got into this. And well, I mean, we've got a couple crucial matches here today. At this point, though, the landscape for Group A is solidified, and it was talked about by the experts before we got into this matchup, and it doesn't even involve these two teams. It involves only one team that is still left to play today, and that is Cyclops Athlete Gaming. You can see their name as either Cyclops or CAG. They're in the very next match. They're going to be playing up against the French team of BDS. BDS have secured their place in the top 4. They can't finish first. Empire will finish first in Group A no matter what because they have the head-to-head tiebreaker. The round differential isn't as good as BDS's, but that doesn't matter. Empire are 8-1 right now. BDS are 7-1, and if they get that, Empire defeated BDS when they played.
Right.
So for Cyclops, if they beat BDS, they send the Korean team of Cloud9 home. If Cyclops loses, and if BDS prevails, in a matchup that really isn't that significant for BDS because they will not fall to third because Liquid can't catch them. And they can't get first if BDS still just decides to do it maybe for bragging rights, posterity, etc. Cyclops goes home if they do not win. And it is also worth noting that SI's point system departs from the seasonal point system. You do not get any extra points for making it to overtime. Cyclops can lose 7-8 in OT in that 15th and final round, and it won't matter at all. They can get as close as they can, but they go home if they don't get a win.
Here now, we've got DZ and G2 vying for that 1 point to try and put themselves slightly higher up on the standings for a little bit better seeding. It's not going to be too much of a big deal for either of these teams, but honestly, every little win matters for G2 and DZ because both of them, as I discussed earlier, have been just not doing so great, Parker.
No, this has been a very disappointing tournament for both of these teams, and I don't think there's any other way to put that forward.
5 seconds left.
So we'll go to Dining and Kitchen for the very first defense here on DarkZero's side. Dining and Kitchen as a site is actually the best site statistically for Chalet so far through the 6 Invitational by a country mile. It actually it's more than twice as successful as every other site. We just wanted to make sure that you got a nice view of what was going on behind the scenes so that you understand all the complexities that go into running a tournament like this, and we'll get right back into the action now that you know that.
Yeah, the matrix broke for but a second there. So unfortunately, now you've got your other feed up, and here we go. Also, for those of you that are joining us, the refugees from Rainbow Six Bravo, welcome aboard. There is currently no game scheduled for this time block for Group B, for Stream B. So because of that, you're here with us now. I apologize if you were looking for some potential other exciting matchups after the conclusion of this game. We have the Cyclops versus BDS matchup. And then on the other stream, for those of you that are curious, we've got Furia versus FaZe. Anywho, right now for DZ, they had a bit of a slow start against Cloud9, but it's working out well for them at this current point in time as they've taken both Uno and Virtue off of the board. Mint finds one, and well, if you're DarkZero, you need big performances from NJR, from Eclipse, and from Mint. Hyper and Skies have been so consistent this entire tournament. In fact, Skies in particular has been the standout on DarkZero, despite being on roles where you wouldn't imagine him fragging out as well as he has.
G2, with just 2 up here, they've got a lot of time, and the Jackal from Citizen is going to pay out well on G2's side for tracking down, isolating one of those DZ players. Unfortunately for G2, they're not going to be able to catch him, though, as a player falls all the way back to the safe side of this map. Remember, the site is Kitchen Dining for DarkZero, but they're dealing with a top floor clear, and so far DZ have done a great job of rebuffing that assault upstairs. G2 have to reconsider where they want to attack this site from, as they aren't sure where these last defenders are.
It doesn't sound like we have any in-game sounds over the final 40 seconds, Michael. How about this? I'll make the in-game sounds, and you cast over top of it. How about that?
I got it. Let's do it.
Okay.
All right. G2 entry into office after the flashes ring, and they're going to go ahead and try to challenge NJR playing inside of Master. He's doing his best to hold the rotation, and he gets one and a second. One magazine for the SMG-11, and NJR says no problem.
Those fist bumps.
So we all heard that you wanted some more rehosts, and we like to deliver per the demands of the audience. So we're going to go ahead and rehost this one up. Obviously, DarkZero will have won that round. It did play out for the players. It's just that we had no sound, so we're going to go and fix that problem right quick.
Technology, man. Sometimes it just breaks your heart. And also the game. So,
yeah.
Regardless, that's the first round is in the books, by the way. I will say this, and I want to take some time to talk about this. For those that follow what's been going on social media, by the way, if you are involved in the Rainbow Six ecosystem, the best time to be involved with Rainbow Six Twitter is right now. The week involving SI, or I guess weeks, because this is technically a 2-week thing now.
Right.
It's impressions week, which means that every single thing you tweet is actually going to gain more impressions than usual. So if you are a shameless impression hoarder like I am, then
that's true. He is that.
I am that. I am many things, but that is one of them. You can go out of your way and tweet as often as you can. It's gonna, well, your impressions are gonna go through the roof. There was a couple tweets actually by G2 prior to this matchup that was like, easy. We made it into playoffs. I mean, the only thing for G2 that's been easy so far has been their matches against their opponents. And I'm not even saying that as a slight. I understand that you want to keep your own morale high. But if you are on G2 and you are tweeting anything about this run being easy, you are completely delusional. G2, up until an hour ago, were in a position where they very easily could have gone home. So I get it, but try to set your expectations a little bit accordingly here and maybe humble yourselves a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree that there's not a lot to be dropping an easy about right now. And that goes for both DZ and G2. And we've been tying their storylines together a lot throughout this broadcast already. I'm sure everyone's sick of it at this point, but it's true. Both of these teams have higher expectations of themselves, and yet here we are. Now, as we load back into the map, thank you for your patience, everyone. All jokes aside, really appreciate it. It's been a rough start to this match. We're going to have DarkZero up one round. G2 will be attacking onto the basement for their next go. And we have sound, yay!
Oh, thank God. I'm not exactly good at sound effects. I'm sure most people are aware of that.
Parker.
Well, thank you, Michael. That's very kind of you. But I mean,
if ever you give up on casting, you can go into professional sound effects for like movies and stuff. I think they'd like you there.
In a time, I could be the movie announcer voice guy. 2 teams at the bottom of the standings. Both of them wanted in. Adversity.
5 seconds to go.
Cockiness. Disappointments.
I don't want to ruin it, but that's good stuff, Parker.
This is. I don't want to say that the match is unimportant because I don't want to make anybody watching this walk away from the broadcast. Mm-hmm. But frankly, this is not a match that has a huge amount of significance in comparison to the other matches going on today. For both of these teams, it's relatively low stakes, which is a good thing for both of them, because if this was a high stakes match, who the hell knows what would happen? If you are a fan of either DarkZero or G2, you are going to have faith that your teams will do well. But faith is the belief in something that common sense might tell you not to believe in. So when you look at DZ and G2's successes, or lack thereof, through the group stages, thank goodness that last matchup went the way it did, because if not, this one would be absolutely agonizing for fans of either of the teams.
Yeah, and at the same time, though, I do think that those recent failures put a lot of pressure on both of these teams, because they have a lot of fans who really want to see them be successful. So I think they're cognizant of that. I think they're indignant from the recent losses, and I think that DarkZero and G2 both really badly want to win here. And I mean, if I were in their shoes, that's how I'd feel anyway. Early on, it's going to be a win for Eclipse. If Citizen hits the floor, that means no more Jackal tracking for G2. It's going to make it harder to isolate these defenders and pick them off.
Citizen actually is the third highest amount of kills in this event and is actually the highest kill getter not on a team named Empire. We were looking at those stats earlier on, and that's a puzzling one. Mint obviously having no audio there and does not hear that wine cellar wall get opened up. Uno falls too, so at least for DarkZero, they're hitting the scoreboard quite well. A beautiful shot from Kayak. He's proving his worth. He's been a bit of an underperformer for G2 throughout this event. He's also their newest member. Big shoes to fill, replacing those of Pengu's. If G2 prevails, they're going to need Kayak to do all this remaining work. Because he's got one pick, he's got case in hand, but he'll do what is quite challenging. He's going to have to guard his own diffuser while finding the 3 remaining members of DarkZero. He'll toil away, potentially isolating them. He shoots and he gives his position inside of the site to DarkZero. That's very critical. They now know where he is, and they can line themselves up appropriately. 2 sites trained on the doorway from Connector into Wine as Kayak moves towards Blue. Pre-fires, but there's nobody there. He absolutely lights up that deployable shield. For DarkZero, this one should be but a formality.
What?
Unfortunately, Sky's the hot hand on DarkZero, just decides to peek it anyway, giving Kayak ample time to reposition. 20 seconds left means that he's going to have to hurry, though. And instead, he'll go through Blue, which is where the Mozzie is located. Kayak shoots away, but he can't take either of them down. DZ just had too many men upright, and they'll take yet another round.
It was a weird push from Skies, but DZ does not manage to throw that round, so well played to them. I mean, Skies did earn that leniency, though, when he clutched up huge against C9 earlier today, so that's worth something. I didn't want to interrupt you, Parker, by the way, but you were talking about how Kayak has to fill Pengu shoes, and I was just wondering, are Pengu shoes officially known as the Newt boots?
The Newt boots.
The Newt boots.
Newt boots.
Do they make the sound when he walks?
Is that the noise that it makes when he steps?
Yeah, probably. I would imagine so. It's probably got like a squishy thing on the bottom that just absorbs the impact and makes that noise.
By the way,
percussion boots.
Breaking news again. This is actually a pretty significant match for DarkZero in the sense that there still exists a small sliver of hope that they make the upper bracket.
That's true.
It's narrow. It's very, very narrow.
But totally possible.
But it's possible for G2 while they're locked into the lower bracket. They're not going anywhere. They will finish no worse than 5th to 9th place. They can't go home, obviously. So, I mean, for DZ, I guess it is a significant one, and they've got that in mind. At the same time, you have to set your expectations accordingly. If you go into that lower bracket, this is a double elimination tournament. But if you start in the lower bracket, your run becomes a lot harder, and there's very little room for error here. Outside of that, I mean, it is still a pretty low-stakes match for both of the teams as they've made it to playoffs. But for DZ, you're going to aim high and hope to land among the stars, blah, 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 blah. All the cliches.
Yeah, because their thing is like a black hole and all that. Anyway, so, yeah, it is possible for DZ technically. It's just very unlikely. And yeah, really, I'd say they're playing for seeding in the lower bracket. That's more what you should expect for them, even if they do win. So that's significant for DZ. But I don't know that they're going to go that far as to getting at the upper. It looks like it's going to be a Solarium execute here for G2 to start off round number 3. So far, the G2 executions have struggled significantly. The early roam challenges have been working out great for DarkZero. The last round, there weren't a lot of them, to be honest. NGR came in for a late flank. But when there is some kind of contention anywhere that's not the site, DarkZero is usually the one winning on that.
That is correct. Correct de mundo. So we're just waiting to hear back as to how DarkZero can make it into the top 4. Because, I mean, my back of the napkin math here, even though we've been told this, is strange. How do they get into the top when FaZe is the team that's going to have to ultimately lose? And I believe FaZe is the head-to-head against DZ.
They have the tiebreaker, yeah. I'm confused by that,
so
too.
I'm confused. Even though we're being told that they can make it into that upper bracket, my own math says that they can't. So somebody is wrong here. And by the way, it's entirely possible that we are wrong. Anywho.
Yeah, Yeah,
we hit the halfway mark of this round, and so far DarkZero on a non-defender-sided map. And we say non-defender-sided because saying attacker-sided is just an odd thing for us to
So
vocalize.
unsiege, yes.
But, I mean, here we are. Leadoff kill for G2. DZ on defense. They've won both the rounds so far. They're in a weaker spot than they have been on previous rounds, but there's another to go with them. Uno collapses on Sky's long-range kill. NJR repositions because the frag grenade goes off on the stairs, and now G2 with an even greater advantage with Citizen's pick onto Eclipse.
Now it's just NJR and Mint trying to hold down the site here. Bar at the 6 Invitational has been the worst site, which is very different from North America, where this is usually the best site. And it's looking like it's going to be the very first round for G2 as NJR goes down. 1 for Mint, so no flawless. He might get a second, but he needs to use the shotgun. Not going to happen, as Citizen will get him through the rotate. And there you go. G2 will take the round. Their first one.
Doot, doot. You heard the gunfire in the background?
Oh, yeah. Dun, 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 dun.
So here is the math, by the way, for DarkZero to make it. Here's the math for DarkZero to make it for those that are curious. DZ still has 2 remaining games. They're going to be playing up against DarkZero, or they're going to be playing up against G2 right now, and then Furia later in the day.
Right.
The ceiling to get in right now is 5 points. Team Liquid and FaZe are currently sitting in 3rd and 4th, respectively. Liquid is on 5 points. FaZe is on 4 points. In the head-to-head against FaZe, DZ lost. Obviously not the result that they wanted. Though, if you look at their result against Liquid, they also lost. So the thing is that with DZ, they need to win both of their games, and Team 1 and FaZe need to lose their remaining games. Coming up, Liquid is going to be playing 1, and Furia is going to be playing FaZe. With Furia sitting at 3 points, they still have 2 more matches to go. Here's the math that happens, and buckle up, as we now have another rehost, by the way, so we'll come back to you as we take a brief pause and we get the match set up yet again. The math is as follows. It doesn't matter what Liquid does, but Liquid needs to defeat Team 1 right on the offset. Team 1 versus DZ went, do you want to take a guess, by the way?
Huh? About?
You were not even listening to me. How dare you?
I mean, you've been on one for a while now, Parker.
Team 1 beat DZ. So
Yes.
Liquid needs to beat Team 1. That's step number 1. If Team Liquid loses to Team 1, that's it. That's the ball game. DZ needs to beat G2 and Furia.
Okay.
And then here's where things get tricky, because Furia's in 3 points. Furia needs to beat FaZe. So in order for DZ to make the top 4, Liquid needs to beat Team 1, DZ needs to beat G2, and then Furia in their later match. And Furia, right before that one, needs to beat FaZe. So it is possible. It's possible they make it. But
Yeah.
if you followed along what I've said, there's a lot of things that need to go right in order for DZ to make that upper bracket.
It's basically very unlikely. Not impossible, just improbable. And again, I would say it's more DZ are playing for seeding in the lower bracket. That's my opinion here. I mean, there's every possibility they get the upper bracket. I just don't. Just no. Yeah. Anyway, so we heard you like rehosts. 2 wasn't enough. We had to give you 3, and I feel it's painful, I think, for the players, especially Parker, because you got to think about it from their perspective. They've had such a weird couple of days, failures and successes, backs and forths, and now they find themselves, both G2 and DZ find themselves at the end of their run. DZ's got one more match after this, but it's the last one for G2. End of the run, and they're just pausing for the speed bumps every couple minutes.
The stop and start nature is something that if you talk to players is immensely frustrating. Number one, you can never really settle into a groove. If you're a player who's hitting their shots, you feel warmed up, you're in the zone, etc. Well, you're going to get shaken out of that, whether you like it or not. Especially annoying when the problems are out of your control. We don't know what tech issues are befalling this matchup at all. We don't know what the issue is. We don't know why we've required a couple breaks and technical pauses. But if you talk to any player, and tons of players that have competed at LANs before have gone on podcasts or have said on their own stream that not only are you having to battle your opponents, but you're also having to battle the stop and start nature combined with your own mental. Keeping your head in the game, not getting frustrated at things outside of your control, not getting frustrated at the fact that maybe your computer is breaking, maybe there's issues with the servers, who knows? It looks like from the camera position that we have right now that something is going wrong with Citizen's computer, as we just saw a tech head on over in that direction, and Citizen has been standing for some time. I'm going to say it. If Citizen doesn't show up, the chances of G2 winning any match here for the remainder of SI are very slim. So if something is going wrong on his end, they really need to make sure that it's fixed.
Yeah, because as Parker mentioned at the very beginning of this matchup, Citizen is by far and away the top performer for G2. Like, it's not even close. He finds himself amongst some serious players like Alimau and Fultz and Nesk and LMs and Cameraman, all the way up to the top of the Six Invitational statistically. So Citizen is the one true hope for G2, or at least that's how he has been, how he has appeared through this tournament so far. And hopefully whatever is that's going on with his computer, which again, we don't know, gets ironed out and everything's fine and we can get back into the game. What we do know is that I think the players are kind of they're having a good time with this one. I'm sure they're laughing it up about the technical issues. I know when you're a player in that position, you're just like, oh yeah, we get to wait. Hey, this is fun. It's always a little bit of indignance and a little bit of jokes that'll be tossed around in these situations.
Well, the start off was 2-1 in favor of DarkZero. That's the first site rotation in the books. And well, for G2, I suppose this is time for you to discuss what's going on. We were getting word that there were some cables being swapped out on Citizen's side of things, and
fun.
Waiting to see what's going to happen and what the possible time frame is for that. I did note that throughout...
Oh, that's not a good sign.
Which part?
Virtue just took off his headphones. We're getting a couple of other people taking off their headphones. It's not a good sign, Parker.
Oh, I think he took his headphones off to take off his mask. Did he not?
Oh yeah, maybe. He's putting it back on. So is it happening?
This was asked, by the way, by somebody in chat, and my understanding of the sanitation and health protocols that are there is that the team is quarantining together. They're in a bubble, which means that they are around one another. They don't need the mask on for each other. However, when an admin or a tech is present from outside of the bubble, that's when the masks have to go on. And I've noticed this a couple times in previous matchups, especially chat has asked this question. Why do they have masks on? Well, there's your answer. The admins that usually stand behind their desks or are present in the room are instead doing this work remotely instead of being on site because of the regulations involving safety of all the players and the safety of all the staff. And obviously, Ubisoft and ESL have gone to extraordinary measures to make sure that this event runs as smoothly as possible. So limiting the amount of person-to-person contact that can happen in these rooms is paramount. That's why the masks come on, because while you can do remote work as an admin, you can't exactly swap out cables or fix a PC remotely if it's a hardware issue.
Dining, the best site for this tournament. And it comes back for DarkZero, as Parker talked about. We saw the cycle end, the first cycle for the defensive half. That's the first quarter, in other wording. Now we go into the second, so we'll see how G2 adapts to the last time DZ defended this site. What happened when G2 was attacking this site last time was G2 fell upon the roamers on DarkZero's side and lost all of those fights, losing many players early on for G2, way far away from the actual site itself. And then there was no point where G2 was able to recover from those losses. They didn't even fully clear out the top floor, which is where DZ managed to finish them off upstairs. So, again, curious to see what G2 will change that here.
I will say this, though. The fact that DarkZero has already taken 2 rounds on Chalet while starting on defense is excellent for them.
Yeah.
The common number that we see at the moment is 4-2 on almost every single map. Sometimes we'll see some 3-3s and 5-1s depending on the caliber of teams and the operators that are banned. But on a defender-sided map, your number is usually 4-2 in favor of the defense. And on Chalet, that number is usually 4-2 in favor of attack. DarkZero have already hit that number, and Mint is obviously hitting his shots. Down goes Kanto Raketti. One of the 2 Finns on G2 will be no more. Playing inside a Solarium, but Mint's getting sprayed through the wall. It's one of the few that aren't reinforced around him, so he'll have to peel off. He's on just a tiny bit of HP. That'll make him tough for the remainder of the round to survive, but he's still living.
Attackers have located a bomb.
Yeah, gun up and gas canisters in pocket. Mint is going to be able to at least delay for a little bit longer. And remember, this is a kitchen dining defense, so the top floor roam is all about that delay. It's already been a great start for DZ. Last gas canister already used for Mint. He'll need to fall back soon. He might actually try to stay there, though. Very dangerous if he chooses to. He's probably going to die. Nade comes in, but it misses from Uno, hitting in the northeast corner of the bathroom, which is where he thought Mint might be. Shotgun out, and oh, 2 blasts, but no cigar, and Uno misses every shot. I have no idea how that would happen, but it did. And an exchange happens elsewhere, leaving 1 dead on both sides.
Oh, that's an impressive stuff. And all of our focus so far has been on Mint now, who gets flashed out, and he's totally blind. Kayak almost whiffed on that one. Poor target prioritization on his part. He still gets it anyway. He gets swung up upon by NJR, as it looks like communication for DZ is not at the point that it needs to be in this round. G2 with the upper hand in the final moments. Still a minute to go, though. We'll see what they can do with it. Eclipse and Hyper will have to work in tandem. No, your eyes are not deceiving you. Because we had to restart the lobby, the kills are not where they are, but Hyper's been a high-flying performer for DZ today. He was able to pick up the pace in that C9 match towards the end. For DZ, they're going to rely on him an awful lot. Dynamic Duo has made a lot happen before. And for DZ, a win here would be a massive victory for them, given the way that Chalet tends to go in favor of these attackers. 3 rounds on defense, well, you're exceeding what you want. And there it is. Hyper, Roni in hand. Down goes Citizen. From above, he knows he's got another trying to light it up, but he's going to run out of ammunition very quickly. He'll have to reload. Gets dropped on from Solarium. Nice kill on the Kayak. 3 kills are on his own, and he's sitting on that diffuser as well. All lays in the hands of Uno. With just 1 HP, the moment he drops, he knows that he's as good as dead, so he'll fire away at the wall, and he'll save the KD. DarkZero takes 3 rounds on defense already.
Wow. Big round there from Hyper, obviously. Overall, G2's attack was more successful at dealing with the roamers, but what happened there? And then, Kayak's peak, what was that? Hey, what's with this ridiculous trepidation on G2? And why does DZ look like they're trying to, I don't know, walk into bullets at times? I am so confused right now, Parker. Strategically, G2 cleared out top floor. Good for them. And then it could have gone so much better, but it also could have gone so much worse. Both teams just kind of played it awkwardly and poorly, so it ended up going like, for both sides. G2 gets the control, though, and they don't actually manage to do a whole lot with it because they've lost too much manpower at that point. And transitioning to the executing of this site, they only had, like, what, 20, 30 seconds left? It's not going to happen. This is an odd round overall, and I really hope that it is not indicative of rounds to come.
I mean, for G2, this match is less impactful than DZ. This is the 3rd crack at Chalet for G2 since SI began, and they've yet to put up a single win on it. They came close against Team 1, and it was a brutally entertaining matchup on the very first day of groups. If anybody recalls, it was actually G2's very first game. It was the 2nd game on the stream, and it was 8-6 in favor of Team 1. The next time that they played it was a bit of an embarrassing outing. They decided to take their colleagues, if you want to call it that, of BDS to Chalet, and guess what? 7-1 in favor of BDS. So this does not seem like, through SI thus far, this does not seem like it is a comfortable map for G2 with the sample size that we have.
No, I mean, it doesn't. And honestly, it doesn't really, it's not much of a map for DZ either. I don't know. I'd say that overall, Chalet is an awkward map for both of these teams. And it is the same for every team at SI. I think it's part of why we've seen such a vast difference in the stats here when compared to the norm. Early on, Citizen gets hyper, so there's your top performer done away with. A lot of the pressure following on the rest of DZ now as they attempt to hold the roam clear on the top floor.
The other thing, too, is if you just simply look at the sides now, G2 coming alive on attack with a minute in. 2 members of DarkZero are off the board, NJR and Hyper. Hyper, obviously, was the star of the show in the previous round. He's not going to be able to really do too much here. This was Mozzie will remain, but all secondary gadget and weaponry is gone. But we take a bit of a breather and allow G2 to scout things out. If you look at the 2 maps that were, or the 2 matchups that were played on Chalet, G2 did quite well on attack against Team 1. They came out of their attacking half 4-2, so 4 victories on attack. They won 0 against BDS, but that's also because they only had 2 opportunities to go on to attack. As they started on defense, they won their lone round against BDS on defense.
This is taking a long time for G2 to clear out the non-existent roamers. You still have 1 person offside, I believe, for DZ, but they're nowhere near where the clear is happening on G2's side. This is weird. I guess they're trying to be cautious. They have actually spotted that roamer. It's Eclipse, and they will shut him down. Wow, just like that. Eclipse takes no one with him. Doesn't even waste very much time. And now, absolutely monumental man advantage for G2 heading into the last 45 on the executing the site.
Kayak droning in his teammates, then being droned in himself is proving to do wonders. Sky's reunited with this Ella pick. I remember the fond days of Ella being in her monstrous form. Mint with an SMG tries to do double duty, can't do it. Kayak sprays him down, and Citizen finishes off screen. G2 pick up a much-needed round. There's only 1 remaining, and within their grasp is a potential 3-3 split for G2.
Well, that round actually, even though it was 2 versus 5, could have gone a lot worse for G2. They did commit a lot of time to clearing out the roamers, but it worked out for them, and they didn't lose any bodies on that clear. That's the most important difference between that round and many of the other rounds that G2 has been putting up so far. If this manages to go 3-3, that's still very comfortable for DZ. No stress there. But it's if it goes for 4-2, G2 are backs against the wall. So big round here for G2 in the last one of the first half.
Obviously, I don't want to dive too deep into the rabbit hole of expectations on G2's side, but we've already talked about it a lot. It's entirely possible that G2 is playing here to
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
save strats. Hey, we've lost Chalet twice. This match really doesn't matter that much for us. Let's go to Chalet and just get gobsmacked, and maybe try to iron some things out. I would say that that's a more likely argument if G2 were doing well, but if I'm Shas, I am exceptionally unhappy with my team's performance so far, and I am not taking a single matchup for granted. I'm playing every single one to iron out the deficiencies and iron out the issues that G2 has shown thus far in SI.
Nope, Parker, now that you've said it, everyone's going to echo it. It's too late. We've already locked in the saving strats assertion. It's done now.
Don't take my words out of context.
Hey, I'm not the one doing it. I feel your pain, Parker, but it's, you done did it, and it's done. Oh, Uno, big window repel. He could get a freebie here.
Yes, no.
Oh, no.
Unfortunate for him,
It's a
NJR.
freebie.
Reads him like a book.
Beautiful stuff.
This is a master defense now, and I mean, there's very few favorable sites for the defense so far. DarkZero's made it work, though, and with this first pick, can it snowball? That was, with the first 30 seconds of action, a pick for DZ. Not too bad, and good timing for them to peel off Uno from this execute. Now, since the rehost, he hasn't really been that impactful in terms of the scoreboard, and as a sledge on this site, your nades are going to be your best friend. If it's not accounted for, Kanto's nades are now going to be even more critical. The only thing that they have to burn out these Surya gates, though, and ADSs, and deal with the Goyo shields, well, you've got 2 nades from Kanto and then 3 flashes from Kayak. That's it.
Can I just say really quickly, I love this strategy from DZ. The way they left the wall soft, the Syria gates, the shield setup, the fact that they're bringing it 2 times with a Rook. You know, you don't see Rook a lot in competitive Siege. The reason he's here is just because of that 2 times optic. NJR, the angle he's playing all the way from Master Bed, difficult angle to play as a defender unless you have the 2 times. So I really like what we're seeing here from DZ. I think it's really innovative, and it's cool to see. I wonder how G2 is going to handle it, because right now they're a man down, lost those nades like you talked about, so the soft destruction is lesser than it should be, but the plant might be happening.
It's just in the cubby, right on top of the breach, and Kayak will get it down and immediately peel off. 9 players still alive in the server, but that number's going to go down very quickly, and it begins to drop. Skies with 1, then traded off by Virtue. DarkZero will still have a numbers advantage, but the number advantage that's even more important is the clock, and that one is G2's. NJR now finished. As from above, on Repel, Citizen is just too much for him to handle. Mint will watch as his teammates drop around him, but he's still got 2 more at his side. He's picked off from the back, but DZ's guns find everybody but Virtue. He's posted up inside a library, watching the main stairs. There's a ping there from the Goyo of Eclipse, and he gets read perfectly by Virtue. Those pings will give information. More going now as Virtue picks around the corner, but he's going to have to hurry. Mint, he doesn't get it. Beautiful play from Virtue, and it's a 3-3 first half.
4K for Virtue, pistol out with just a sliver of time left on that disable, and he manages it. And it's all thanks to the information that Virtue had. There was a drone somewhere in the main lobby that was calling out in that post plant the entirety of his hold from library. Beautiful stuff from Virtue. You love to see rounds like that. And he's coming in big for G2. Not for him, that would have been a DZ round. There's a couple other things that contributed to that, though. The use of the Habana X-Kairos to open up the reinforced wall, preventing the strategy from DZ working to work. It didn't work because they opened a hole in the wall. That's what I was trying to say. I don't know why it was so difficult, but that's what happened. So because they opened up that wall that DZ was not prepared for, and were able to plant out of NJR's line of sight, remember that's the Rook playing from Master, it was basically a free plant. It's weird to me that DZ doesn't have any other contingencies aside from a Rook holding a long angle with the 2 times. That is a big risk to take. But first half done, 3-3, and that still does favor DZ.
Well, my here, things are getting tough for DarkZero. So we'd speculated as to whether G2 were taking this one easy, but with that round, the answer is no. These are hyper-competitive players. No,
you want me to make a joke about hyper?
Yeah, I was waiting for it.
I thought you didn't want me to do those anymore.
I gave it to you. I just on a gold platter. No hypers on DZ.
No, I don't. That's your thing anyway, Parker. I mean,
our thing, Michael.
Okay, it's our thing sometimes.
Our
it's
thing,
like
comrade.
Really your thing. I mean, you're the one who pioneered
Our
this.
thing.
Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Anyway, switching sides, you look at the outcome right now, and that score will tell you an awful lot. These teams have traded back and forth, some rounds looking so dominant for one or the other. A monumental clutch from Virtue, picking up 4 kills in particular, and what was a 1v3 to seal the deal for his team. Hyper comes very close to being able to get a penetration kill through the wall, but doesn't quite net it.
Nope, no kill for NJR. He'll keep trying with his drone, scouting out library, seeing what he can find. I like the use of the 0 here for Eclipse. It's definitely really good when you can get one of those cameras somewhere that the defense just does not expect. Get a lot of useful information. So far, not great though for DZ. A lot of time spent. They know where the roamers are. Or they have like an approximate understanding of the roamers' locations near piano and such. They haven't been able to get the picks yet that they need though, and they're running low on time. That's the one that they needed right there. Virtue leaves himself exposed. And freebie basically for NJR. Hyper will also get Cancer Raketti, who is trying to assist from the back stairs. And now those leadoff picks for DZ, they're looking pretty good on this attack.
Uno could be the next one up. I like how G2 responded to that to try and refrag. It's been a historical strength of G2, or at least was with their old roster, of which only Kanto remains, but DZ had that crossfire set up wonderfully. If they can get control of library, then DZ have as much as they need on this site. They'll be able to sweep in on the top floor. The only roamer that's holding that position upstairs is Citizen. He makes some noise by opening up that office panel, and he's being watched. The thing is that the longer that Citizen is preoccupied, that's going to put even more pressure on the shoulders of Kayak and Uno, and down goes Citizen now as Hyper finds kill number 2 for him on this round. DZ's assault is well spread out. And with G2 only having 2 bodies up to fend against a flawless DarkZero, and not just flawless in terms of all 5 being there, but not a single point of damage being done to them either. Unless things go horribly wrong, this should be an easy execute for DZ.
Well, Uno and Kayak trying to stop that. Nice one for Uno in the main lobby. He has information as well on other players in main lobby, but they're going to push into bar and take out his only teammate. Uno now has to fight back against the wall. He'll need an ace to win this one. Sees the Yana, can't land the shots. Now he's down to about 55 HP. There it is, Hyper with the headshot from downtown in the main lobby. That was a far one. And DZ will pick up their first attacking round. I have to say, that round was much better than a lot of DZ's defenses.
I mean, this is an attacker-sided map, so I expect right now we'll start to see DarkZero take off over the next couple rounds, given the fact that the attackers should have an abundance of confidence. Additionally, the only thing from G2 that could possibly hinder DarkZero at the moment is an Ash ban, but DZ have gone with a bit of an unconventional lineup in comparison to other maps, bringing a Zero, a Yana, and a Lion. Yana has very firmly worked her way into the meta during SI, but Lion and Zero are still extremely situational. In terms of destruction on this map, there's certain bomb sites where you could even argue that you don't even need a hard breacher to put a huge hurt on the defenders. Tons of soft destruction will do it. There's only a couple sites where I think a hard breacher is an absolute necessity. It's very similar to what we see on Coastline in regards to teams only really wanting to bring a Hibana or now Ace, since he's an operator that exists in the meta. Prior to that, lots of soft destruction and maybe a Glaz or a Dokkaebi or a Lion was all you really needed. So DZ have that flexibility, and instead of a Lion, they're going to bring another very intriguing and somewhat maddening operator to reunite Mint with that Blitz. And there's some significant pain coming G2's way.
Yeah, Blitz is one of the predominant Blitz players. You don't really see a lot of those. It's odd to say that. He's a great shield player in general, but Blitz is his forte. And I expect him to make some magic happen here. I've seen Mint ace with Blitz in professional play. Ace clutch in like a 1 versus 4 or something.
Oh, it's Clubhouse. I remember that.
Yeah, and he even planted the diffuser. That was special. So Mint is not to be trifled with when given Blitz, and he could present a serious issue here for G2. Looks like they want to go for a rush strat in through the balcony.
And they're waiting, and there he goes, off to the races. Mint is the first one in, and he's managed to clear out all of Office. He doesn't have the case, though. Skies does. If he had it, he could possibly get the plant down. Nitro Cell fells Skies, but Eclipse picks up 2 very quickly. 40 seconds into this round, and chaos is unfolding in front of our very eyes. Pace is also down. It'll need to be retrieved, surrendered, as this push from DZ does not work out in their favor. The numbers stacking up for G2, 3v2.
It's a weird use of the Evil Eye there from Uno. He loses the information that he had by opening up the shutters to try and zap NJR. Drone work there from Hyper, and NJR now knows there's one on the flank. It's Kayak. Hyper's going to try and address that by vaulting into Piano and covering his teammate's flank, but they're between a rock and a hard place here. Plenty of players still on site. It's Cantor Raketti in Bathroom to get NJR, and he'll get away with that without being punished. He'll even get a second. Cantor Raketti with the big plays, and G2 will take their first defensive round.
I understand the thought process there, and frankly, I think DZ anticipated more of a brawl in the site. But G2 were not confined to the walls of Office or Master, and they were roaming quite handily, especially with one being down below. Sky's getting picked off with the Nitro Cell is excellent for G2, and I don't know if they knew which target they were going after, but he was the one with that diffuser in hand. If somebody else had sprinted in alongside Mint, while the Blitz was firmly in the site, and you saw Eclipse get 2 very quickly on the retake from G2, that could have been an entirely different round. Like I said, I think DZ were anticipating that G2 would have been more fortified within the site. And maybe that was the goal from G2, was to get back to site at some point. But given how early that was in the round, they could have still been doing setup work elsewhere, and DZ might have just been a bit too hasty.
It was a cool idea, at least.
Oh, it was a nice strat to see. And I mean, we've seen an abundance of them. DZ in particular has brought some new stuff to the table. That Rooney hold in bathroom that we saw TSM do yesterday also comes to mind. They ran it earlier today against Cloud9, where you put up a castle barricade and you have a soft wall, and then you put the Rooney gates up with a mirror window inside a bathroom on the top floor cafe. A very intricate setup. Bolo was playing in that spot yesterday in the TSM matchup, and it's obviously something that NA teams have prepped for, and it's cool to see these changes come out. And if you're going to bring out a new strategy, you're going to do it during the biggest event of the year.
Setup just finishing up here for G2. They'll leave one of the box walls unreinforced. Or, well, technically 2 panels, but like one whole wall. Makes sense. Straight gate on it. This is just a roam strategy upstairs, but you can see how heavily G2 is invested into their top floor presence. It's because if you control top floor, you can effectively hold the site from above when it comes to kitchen and dining. And that's part of what makes this site so dynamic, and part of why it's such a good one for most teams. You just have a lot of options as the defenders. It's a lot more deep than actually every site on this map.
That's a hard wall right there, by the way. Can't shoot through that one, or at least the banister in front of him on the door is. If he peeks, he might be able to get a couple shots off, regardless. Sam cams out for Eclipse, as they're going to be good for flank watch and are set up well. In the defense, you're going to have to be aware of them as they make a subtle noise. One of the walls of dining gets opened up from lobby as DZ look to take control of some vertical play here on Chalet, and they're going to move upstairs using library stairs. Mint and Hyper side by side to try and do some work on this. That's unlucky.
When he was going for the...
I don't know if he was potentially
Banshee.
trying for both. I don't know if that's even possible at that angle, but he re-peeked it. He re-peeked it to see.
I think he just wanted the Banshee and he got it. So at least it's that. I mean, it's expensive what he just did, but
Yes.
oh, that's even worse. That is unlucky. That nade went under the piano, and so the shield did not see the explosive effect, and it's still up.
They'll finally get the Surya gate open with Hyper looking for intel that comes with that proximity explosion. Nothing found. Mint very first kill. 1 minute remaining in the round, and we're tied up. So G2 were able to answer back on defense. An attacker sided Chalet, where at any moment DarkZero could potentially run away with this, but it hasn't been easy for them just yet. The only person that is absent from the conflict is Uno, as he was sat down earlier. The Maestro is off the board. Mint sees the Goyo of Kayak run across, and now will drop down to the bottom of Solarium into Trophy. Mint's still holding this angle, but he's going to be fighting shadows because there's nobody there. He doesn't seem to have full intel, but yet he gets Kanto Raketti. My goodness. Not sure where the Aruni decided to come from, but not exactly the position you want to find yourself in. So G2's spread will have to focus on the site. Virtue taking damage as the Goyo shield explodes in front of him. No diffuser planted yet. It's in the hands of Skies. 20 seconds to go. Watching towards the B-bomb chassis. Kayak has a nitro cell in hand and can stop the plant in its tracks, but he gets swatted away by Eclipse down below. Busting in, and now Virtue tries to retake. He's got some sights lined up, but it's not good enough. They trade away, and because of the advantage they had, DarkZero manages to walk away with that round.
Weird round, Parker. Okay, there's so many things there. So many mistakes from both teams, and so many... okay. Let's start off at the very beginning. The clear from DZ was very slow when it came to the piano bottleneck, but they managed to get it done. They didn't get the shield, amazingly, and even despite the fact that DZ did not get the shield, G2 fell back from their top floor roam really fast because they didn't want to lose too many bodies. Now, when Kayak was crossing there, Mint really should have punished him in bathroom. Like, really? That was his whole job? That's the reason Mint was on that window. So that's mistake number one, right? Then he gets out of that situation, goes back to site, and then you think to yourself, okay, well, now G2 has fallen off the top floor. But puzzlingly, Kanto Raketti stays in Master, and I don't know if it was a straight wall bang or if there was a hole in the wall. But Kanto Raketti was looking towards Office from Master, and he dies through the wall to Mint. I don't know if there was information or what have you. It doesn't matter. The point is, Kanto Raketti should have fallen back with his teammate. The call was made. Kayak's leaving for a reason. Either stay or don't. Make up your mind. But that pick going to Mint, that's mistake number 2. So G2 are starting to rack up these mistakes now, and the round's starting to look pretty dire. It gets worse and worse, though, when it comes to the actual hold on site. The biggest problem is those roamers didn't delay very long. So DZ is allowed to play the vertical game, and they do a very good job of it. They managed to get that Goyo shield right on top of Citizen. There's mistake number 3. And it just keeps getting worse and worse for G2 as the round goes on until eventually it's a complete collapse of their defense.
There's a number of issues, by the way, in regards to Chalet as to why it is more attacker favored, but the tight corridors are one thing. Lack of intel seems to play into it quite a lot. Teams don't tend to get the same value out of Mutant Mozzie or even Valkyrie as they do on other maps. Additionally, the amount of intel that you can get as an attacker works out quite well. That's why you see so much Zero play here. I know you refer to him as Sam Fisher often, chat, but his name is Zero. The clips will be on him for probably most, if not all of the rounds for the remainder of this matchup. As the defense, you have to basically retake blind. It also doesn't help that we've seen some puzzling placement of utility from G2. Ooh. Now, you don't need a ton of intel from Kanto Ricchetti. As NJR decides to peek the doorway into office and gets punished for it, Mint now shredded away as he doesn't check his corners. Uno's hiding right next to him, and Mint goes down. The freight train that is the Blitz is derailed. DZ with a minute off of the clock now trail 3v5 with G2 looking to equalize.
I mean, the first kill onto NJR, that's just a great pre-fire from Kanto Ricchetti. Nothing really to fault there from NJR, not necessarily. It's just timing. Sometimes those happen. But Mint not checking his corner in library in the entrance, it's puzzle. It's puzzling for sure. What we do know is that DarkZero likely to struggle in this round. If we go to 5-5, I mean, this match continues to be close. It could be the match point round, though, still. I wouldn't count out DZ just yet. This is definitely it could go either way situation. There might be a mute jammer, but I think it's been dealt with. So even if it was there, wall gets opened up by Skies. And now DZ are shaping up for their execute. They don't have a great advantage in terms of manpower, but their utility use has been pretty stellar when it comes to the actual site. And they could definitely make an execute happen here with this crossfire.
There is still denial on the board for G2, so, you know, not all hope is lost for DZ, but I mean, it's looking pretty tough with what G2 brings to the table, and they'll fall off as Eclipse gets gunned down. Hyper wasn't watching Blue, standing pat, but everybody gets slaughtered in the site. G2 retakes all at the same time off of the play from Blue, and DZ have no hope whatsoever of claiming that round.
And you know, you take a step back a little bit. You look at the beginning of the round where DZ loses 2 players, and you think to yourself, okay, let's say those 2 deaths upstairs didn't happen. These ones right here on the replay. Let's say those don't happen, yeah? And then DZ manages to get both of these walls open, and they could have. They could have thermited that second wall. They chose not to because they didn't have enough manpower to hold it. But if, let's say they have all 5 alive, they open up those 2 walls into sight, that trade battle that we just saw to round out to finish off the round, that trade battle could have gone the other way. DZ could have made an advantage happen there with the extended control that second wall being open would have had if they had the manpower to hold it and, again, to trade each other out. But, you know, that's if it didn't happen. So good roam to G2. Well done to them. They bring this to a 5-5.
Well, this is back and forth right now. G2 very much in the thick of it, trying to play spoiler to DarkZero. As we laid out the math and what they need to make it into that top 4, the ever wanted, ever prized upper bracket, if DarkZero loses here, dream's over. That's it. It's done. They need to go flawless over their next 2 maps. And a reminder, the global standard that is used for points that gives you an extra point for making it to overtime and losing in overtime does not exist here. You get a point for a win, you get 0 points for a loss. That's it. It doesn't matter how close every single round is. It doesn't matter if you lose 7-8 in that 15th and final round, you still go home with 0 points. So DZ, for them, if their goal is that upper bracket, this is absolutely a must win. As for G2, this match isn't really of that much significance. They're going to finish somewhere from 5th to 9th. They've made it into the playoffs, so this is just them woodshedding, basically. It's them trying to practice and prep for what may come for the playoffs.
It's definitely still a lot of pressure, and I do think that these teams, they need some wins. Both of them, DZ and G2. Now, G2, to that effect, are going to bring a clash, so We'll see how that one works out for them. And what we do know is there's 2 shields in play because of that. Mint is continuing on this blitz play, and we'll see how that works out for them.
Some shield-on-shield action. I will say so far that the blitz play from Mint has not been anywhere near as successful as it has in the past and is likely falling short of expectations that DZ have of it. This must be a point of frustration for them. It's not exactly going to be as easy either, knowing that there's a clash on the board. Uno positioned in such a way that he knows that there's many, many bodies in Solarium. He's standing in the doorway to the B-bomb, but he can't really do too much with it. Skies on Repel punishes him for it. Next in line is Kayak. He's the Clash. He'll walk right up to the bathroom Solarium door and watch as a grenade goes by, trying to turn him around to see if the Blitz can do anything. Off screen, Eclipse takes down Citizen. So DZ continue to add up on kills here. They take this round, they go to match point. G2 takes this round, they go to match point. There's heavy stakes for this one in particular. The kills keep coming, though, this time with Eclipse on the window, taking down Kayak, posted up in a similar spot to where he was earlier. And Kanto Raketti knows that, well, Solarium is where you're going to have to just look ever so intently. Once the team takes Solarium and then begins to pressure the bomb site, you are in trouble. It doesn't matter how many of you are still upright. Kanto must know this. Engaging well, but he runs out of ammunition. And a good thing for him, it's just a Yana clone, but here comes the pain! Mint runs on in, blinds Kanto Raketti, and down he goes. So, hey, maybe the shield does work just well. Virtue in a clutch or kick scenario, and he's going to get kicked flawlessly for DarkZero as they take their most important round other than a victory. They're on match point 6-5.
What a big round there for DZ, a flawless one. And we're going to go ahead and toss the B stream off to the next match. We've got Furia and FaZe coming up, so thank you so much for watching B stream. We'll catch you all later. This will continue, though, obviously. 6-5 for DZ. Match point 1 away from locking this one out. But G2 equally 1 away from bringing it to overtime. They'll go to Bar Gaming to attempt just that. Difficult site to make work so far the 6 Invitational. This has been one of the worst sites for the defenders on this map. And that's on a map where the defensive win rate is already pitifully low. So backs against the wall here for G2. That Solarium take for DZ working out so well in the last round.
Protect your bombs.
The amount of times that we have seen a team take Solarium, open up the wall in the closet, open up the wall if it's not already opened up from bathroom, and then force all the defenders to have to play out of office or to have to play at a piano, and to no avail is huge. You can sit on the big window, as Eclipse did, looking into Master. You've got Solarium wall open in the closet. You've got the entire back of that B-bomb site. There are so few angles for you to play. The saving grace in most teams on defense in that particular situation is to have a Nitro Cell or 2 at your disposal, preferably one below, to blow somebody up when they try on a default plant spot. As you can see, the entire floor of Master is destructible. So you're going to get a lot of value from a well-placed C4. Problem is that oftentimes defenders don't have that intel, and with the fast pace of Chalet, you can't always make accurate calls because either your opponents are moving or there's just too much going on at the same time. Regardless, DarkZero are marching towards this upper bracket. There's a lot on the line for them right now. It seemed like it was far less of a meaningful matchup, but DZ, they need to go flawless over their next 2 matches in order to make it to the upper bracket. This round in particular is pivotal. Overtime is on the board if G2 prevails, and well, that's a pretty good start. The ensuing fight that happens is Citizen taking out Eclipse.
That's a really big pick, as Eclipse has been a significant player in terms of the information department alone through this map. Eclipse has had a really tough SI group stage so far. He has not been performing all that well, to be honest. He's near the bottom right now in SI group stage statistics. And him going 6-6, I know it doesn't look that impressive overall, but given his current performance in past matches, that's a real good scoreline for him. And on top of that, he's gathering a lot of information for his team. So losing him here, not going to be great. It bodes well for G2's chances at bringing this OT, but it's still a lot left to push. DZ are on attack, and you have to keep that in your mind because attack is still favored, even when they're a man down, I'd say, on this map.
Absolutely. And we haven't had the best vantage point for it, but we've seen snippets of how Eclipse is sitting on those SAM cams and making calls and being able to inform his teammate of where they need to apply some pressure. Meanwhile, on G2's side, Uno's getting that exact same call, and he sees the rappel line in front of him. A run out was potential, but it's gone now, and Mint will reposition. Hyper takes out Kanto Raketti. Both teams back to even odds, 4v4 with a minute to go.
There's that big pick, and that'll bring DZ right back in, obviously. Kanto Raketti has been a playmaker for G2. Now, the top floor clear, you can see there's a little bit of hesitation here for DZ. They're like, okay, is it clear? Can we go for library and use that for vertical? The answer is yes. It took them a while to get to that, though. You can see the clock starting to dwindle, and that's going to cause some problems. DZ still seems to think there are players roaming upstairs. There's nobody there by the back stairs. They need to get a little bit quicker on this attack.
And there they go. A second kill picked up for Hyper as G2 now finds themselves in a worse position than they were just a moment prior to that. They lose this round, that's it. This is their final match here of the playoffs, and of the group stages. They've already secured a spot in the playoffs. That's okay for them. For DZ, absolutely they need to find their footing, and they're going to have to hurry as we hit 10 seconds left in the round. Kayak chucking all those toxic canisters out, looking to stave off a push, but you can hear the Candelas go. They're blinded amidst the sight. Mint needs somebody to cover him as the diffuser is going down, and they will try to swamp G2, but G2's guns are finding their marks, and they'll win it on time. They take it out with huge plays from Citizen to stop Mint's plant, and we're going to overtime between DZ and G2.
I mean, just look at that. Nobody's watching for Citizen to come from the hallway. Not one single flank watch for DZ. And why is that? Because they think that there's only 10 seconds left. We have to execute quick into sight. We gotta go, go, go. And I mean, on one hand, they're right. But all it took was Citizen walking through the complete, look at it, right there. Walking through the completely uncovered hallway. He stops the plant, and that's it. Good round. G2 bring it to OT. It's little mistakes, Parker, that go a long way. And that's been the story for this entire match. DZ had that round in the bag effectively, and all they needed to do was actually cover their planter. It could have been with the smoke. It could have been with somebody holding the hallway. It doesn't matter what. They just had to prevent Citizen from walking in for free from the hallway and just seeing, oh, hey, there's the planter. I wonder what would happen if I shot him. Oh, what's that? We're on 0-0. I'm going to win the round. Oh, freebies. Thank you.
Oh, you're planting? It would be a shame if something happened to you. How much of that round, by the way, boils down to a lack of intel for DZ? Not that I think that those zero cams, the Argus launcher, is going to go in a position where they could have seen or covered that angle. It's a pretty common spot for the last two defenders to be playing off of on that bomb site. But if you look at the way that DZ handled the mid-round, the grenade that missed on Library Stairs, the different players from DarkZero who were spread out all over, and then when they realized, uh-oh, there's 20 seconds left, we need to get into the site, they didn't look like they had total confidence. There was 3 players from DarkZero in the middle of the site, all frantically looking in different directions, trying to determine the remaining players from G2 as to their locations. And what is this, by the way? 30 seconds and G2 are going to go for the throat. Kayak getting the diffuser down as there's 2 kills for G2, make it 3, but DZ fires back. Diffuser still amidst the smoke under the cover of darkness, it gets planted. Eclipse trying to retake, but he's punished from above. Citizen now has control above, and it's NJR to try and save the round for his team. DZ not only forfeiting match point, but now forfeiting the first round of overtime, and it's G2 who will move to match point.
Wow, what a turnaround we're seeing here right now, Parker. It's not over yet, though. That was because G2 gets attack first on Chalet. That round certainly looked definitive. DZ could answer back with their own attack round here. We'll find out. That, by the way, is how you do an explosive take into the site. A couple things that were better there for G2 than they were in the previous round for DZ. Number 1, the planter covered by smoke. Number 2, the execution went a lot faster. I know it was at the beginning of the round, but whatever. There was time left on the clock, so you're not risking it at the end. And that's huge. Number 3, the coverage apart from the smoke was stellar from G2. They not only had somebody in sight, in fact, I think they had 2 bodies in sight to cover the planter. They also had bodies above to cover the planter from potential off angles or vertical play. And all of that to say that it was a well thought out rush from G2. That wasn't just a, oh, let's run into the site, see what happens. That was a, okay, we know what we need to control. Everyone do their job, control their little bit, and we'll be fine. And they all controlled their little bit. they were fine.
This is a matchup that really wasn't supposed to be anywhere near as exciting as it is right now, but my goodness, we have been treated to a real joy. Chalet's pacing is such that it is oftentimes unpredictable, and it can get a little bit messy. It's something that we see very similar to Coastline, where there's unpredictable rounds and attacks can come out quite quickly. I mean, we've seen 3 rush strats employed already through these through these 13 rounds of action. So who knows exactly what's up next? When you look at DZ's lineup, they're actually going to go away from the Zero and instead bring a Jackal. Mint is off of the Blitz. They're going to employ their standard Lion here. But we could be watching DarkZero's chances at an upper bracket finals, or an upper bracket start, rather. I suppose it would technically be a final finish in the upper bracket. Disappear in front of our very eyes.
Drone up.
It's all about what happens in these early engagements. Citizen, who has been such an important player for G2, on a very dangerous roam. He's going to get droned out, but not caught out. He'll make it back nice and safe to the top of back stairs. Spotted, possibly. No, he had his ability up there. Kayak will get NJR as well, who's attempting to entry. And now DZ find themselves a man down. Not 2, though, as Hyper will win 1 down in the back bar storage. Cantorketti answers back. Mint trying to follow up will die as well, leaving just Eclipse and Skies. Now in the 2 versus 4. Citizen is low, but still, DarkZero's backs against the wall.
Well, finally, DZ finds some firepower. They're going to need it, by the way. They still trail. Eclipse and Skies will work together for the remaining minute and a half of this round to try to punish G2. G2's set up for that defense. They established a bulkhead inside of games, and then they just wanted to hold that one down, and they all played off of it perfectly. Do keep in mind that the Vigil gadget of Citizen, cloaking device, it's immune to the Lion charge. So Mint can try as best as he can to try and stop him, but no matter what, Citizen is going to be able to evade that. It's what allowed the rest of G2 to reposition and catch the players from DarkZero off guard.
Now, I want to note something here. G2 are really, really clean about falling back most of the time. There was that round with Cantorketti upstairs, but usually when G2 finds they have the advantage on the defense, they'll fall back and anchor up on the site. DZ have been slow at realizing that that has happened, and they just spent about 20-30 seconds trying to be sure that it did. So that's a lot of time wasted for G2 for free, essentially, as DZ sets up for the execute through the breach.
And of course, they can't go for a Solarium take because their whole focus is over here towards Office, and that's where they're going to continue to look. There's that Evil Eye cam that we talked about before. It's still upright. It's going to give intel to G2, and Uno's going to be the one to try to play off of this. Behind the bomb chassis, relatively safe. Is this position known? That's the real question. G2 have fallen far enough back that they can lure DZ into the site and then beat them down as best as they can. And this is where the rubber is going to have to hit the road for DarkZero. Sky's absorbing a lot of damage, and well, that beating, he's going to need to keep walking away from it. He won't, though. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me, G2 says. They deny the potential of an upper bracket for DarkZero as G2 steal the match away to end their run here through the